This is Appalling News. I'm Paul Chatham. One of the concerns most citizens have of their governments is overspending. There are large projects like building airports and border security, which only a government can afford and manage, and we use that term loosely. But we all agree that this is what we pay taxes for. And then there are these crucial government expenditures by the Department of Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada, or, as they say in French, Conseil du Recherche en Sciences Humaines du Canada. In Canada, if you don't also include the French version of a government department, you will be imprisoned for life. Now, all these projects have already been bought and paid for by taxpayers. First up is gender politics in Peruvian rock music. Business job listings are already begging for experts in gender politics in Peruvian rock music. Of course, this is happening in the loony left coast of Canada, the University of British Columbia. The department is women's history, of course. The search keywords are gender, intersectionality, rock music, critical theory. Gender, intersectional, and critical theory are your guarantee of getting the government to fund your project. And it only costs taxpayers $20,000. Then we have revisioning yoga and yoga bodies, expanding modes of embodiment with non-normative bodies, by which they mean all-you-can-eat buffet frequent flyers. Of course, they also meant the disabled. But yoga has been around for more than 5,000 years. We're certain they've revisioned it enough, expanded modes already, and dealt with non-normative bodies probably around 200 AD. And it's only 40,000 tax dollars. Now this one is interesting. It comes by way of the Ontario College of Art. Dead pets and transcendence of species divides in experimental art-making practice. A bargain at $17,500, but all we can think of is Python's dead parrot sketch. For only $7,777.80, we paid for this. Teens, self-fashioning of sexual and gender identities in online Harry Potter fan communities. Two of the key words are gender studies and queer theory, neither of which are falsifiable, but we noticed this was issued in 2018, the year J.K. Rowling was attacked for being transphobic on Twitter. We wonder if this project was quietly taken offline. Playing for pleasure, the affective experience of sexual and erotic video games. Finally, a good use of our tax dollars. The key words include video games, intimacy and eroticism, pornography, affect theory, audience reception study, digital media. $50,000 seems to be steep, but Carleton University is an old whore. We can hardly wait to start the homework. This one is called Suitability Dressed, Finding Social Justice Through Distinctions and Modest Fashions for Men, Women, and Transgender People. For $35,000, Toronto Metrosexual University will take you shopping at thrift stores. The keywords are fashion, diversity, inclusion, intersectionality, feminism, post-colonial studies, Islamophobia. We have no idea what this has to do with Islamophobia, but we're sure it's included in YouTube videos on how to get easy money from the government by adding Islamophobia to your grant applications. This one looked interesting. From free speech to hate speech, examining right-wing student activism on Canadian university campuses. We know why this comes in at a hefty $35,000 because, first, they will have to try to find a school that actually has right-wing students. This project requires applicants with strong constitutions because what they mean by right-wing student activism is being asked questions. And we know being asked questions is hate speech. The course requires that you bring your emotional support animal. And finally, we present this more verbose grant application. Feminist Spotlight on Space Insecurity, human implications of below-threshold conflict. We're already confused. We're sure the syllabus will clarify everything. Responding to the challenge of anticipating how the future of conflict dynamics and defense practices will be gendered, this project investigates current and future sources of insecurity in outer space through a feminist lens that draws attention to the hidden violence and different and disproportionate human implications based on gender, race, and socioeconomic status of below-threshold activities in this emerging domain of conflict. Insights gained during this process will provide the basis for recommendations on possible responses, both domestic and international. Included will be tools for defense diplomacy that can be used in the development of norms of responsible behavior and other multilateral tools that are intended to maintain outer space as a domain that is safe and secure for all. Okay, we assumed wrong. It's obvious they cut up a bunch of words and put them in a solid spinner. The requested amount was for $32,250 tax dollars. They have already received $38,000 from the Department of National Defense for mapping the normative landscape in outer space. It's a mystery why polls show the majority of Canadians want to toss junta leader Generalissimo Justin Trudeau out of office. And finally, we know you won't believe this news item, but male penis tuckers in frocks are demanding that they want to get in on the breastfeeding action at Leche Leagues around the world. LLL gives mother-to-mother support for those finding it hard to breastfeed. They also give prenatal training. Two key figures at Britain's oldest breastfeeding charity have resigned after it described the term mother as a roadblock to inclusivity, declared that questioning gender ideology is harmful, and introduced a trans policy that allows men to attend support groups. Miriam Main, who is a trustee at the LLLGB, resigned on Monday, saying that she refused to help biological men perform a poor imitation of breastfeeding. In a damning resignation letter, Marion Thompson, 94, described the organization as a travesty of my original intent and condemned the group's shift from focusing on mothering to include men who, for whatever reason, want to have the experience of breastfeeding despite no careful long-term research on male lactation and how that may affect the baby. Plus, it's gross. Earlier this year, the U.S.-led board of LLL suspended 6 LLLGB trustees for demanding that biological men be excluded from their services amidst claims that gender ideology activists within the charity had created a culture of censorship, harassment, and bullying. We're shocked. The U.S.-led board went on to say, the continued promotion of LLL as an organization that excludes people is damaging to LLL's credibility. We did manage to get this transcript from the contentious secret boardroom meeting. Someone named Stan initially says, "Women have a perfect right to play a part in our movement." Then a male voice responds, "Why are you always on about women, Stan?" Stan says, "I want to be one, Reg." Reg retorts, "What?" Stan says, "I want to be a woman. From now on, I want you all to call me Loretta." Once again, Reg retorts, "What?" Loretta now says, "It's my right as a man." Then a woman in the room is heard saying, "Well, why do you want to be called Loretta, Stan?" Loretta hesitantly says, "I want to have babies." Reg responds loudly, "You want to have babies?" Then Loretta says, "It's every man's right to have babies if he wants them." Reg belligerently says, "But you can't have babies." Loretta, now tearful, says, "Don't you oppress me." Reg, raising his voice, "I'm not oppressing you, Stan. You haven't got a womb. Where's the fetus going to gestate? You going to keep it in a box?" The transcript ends with Loretta crying. Good luck to the LLL of GB in your fight against head office. But, like we always say here at Appalling News, men make the best women. This is Appalling News, and that's the way it is.